I'm Rich Galgano, and I'm a compulsive gambler. Not was, am. No matter how long clean, you are what you are. I'm not here to preach. I'm here to inform. What's my position on gambling? Only that it's bad for me. See, my choices nearly cost me everything, which is your soul. And I tried to capture that sentiment in the words and images you just heard. What was displayed in this opening video were based on my lived experiences. So let me take you back to 1990. I'm in my 20s, had a good job, made great money. I had ambition, friends, and a ton of charm. I was killing it. At least I thought I was. But I had this other life. My office just wasn't a sales pit. It was a blackjack table on a riverboat. First night, sat down at those tables, make $1,000 in an hour. I walked out thinking, I'm built for this. I kept going back more frequently, just like the progressive disease that this is. I bet sports, college and pro football, a little bit of basketball. To my bookie, I was 601. I wasn't a human. I was just a number in a little black book. Then there were the poker games, smoky back rooms, dimly lit basements. I'd sit with strangers, no clue who they were, where they came from, what their background. My naivete made me an easy mark, but I stayed and I played. The risk I took in those games, I did it because I loved the action. Splitting kings and doubling down with the dealer sitting on a 6, catching a card on the river, holding the ace of spades in a 7-card stud game when the high spade and the hole split the pot. You see, there's no drug like it. And those early wins made me feel like a genius, like I'd cracked the code. I didn't crack anything. Because the worst thing that happened to me, winning. When people discover that I'm a gambler, a compulsive gambler, they're always curious. Why didn't you just stop? Why didn't you just stop? See, for me, why doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is to know that I cannot gamble because I understand the consequences. What's the point of chasing the why, the reason? As if knowing why I gamble could now make something that was uncontrollable, controllable? It's a laughable proposition. Chasing the why keeps you on the hamster wheel, tricking you into thinking you can outsmart the devil himself. I chased that high through thousands of dollars, dozens of lies, years of pretending I had it under control. But there is no such thing as control for someone like me. At first, fun, a lot of fun, a few bucks, a harmless parlay, poker with the boys. But when you are wired like I was, it doesn't stay harmless. It grows until it consumes you. You see, I hid cash in envelopes around the places I dwelled. I took out credit cards to float gambling debts, paid one card with another, and I called that a strategy. And the whole time, I looked fine. Smiled, joked, closed deals at work. I bragged about the wins to anybody that would listen, but I buried the losses deep. See, nobody ever knew about the losses. I was a young man who appeared to have it all together while fighting something that you cannot see. And your sons, they might not show signs either. See, we're good at hiding it. We're not the guy in the gutter. Sometimes we're the guy in the sales meeting, the guy at the dinner table, the guy in the classroom, the kid in the dorm room, or the kid in the frat house. You see, it all seemed harmless enough until it wasn't. because harmless for me is just another word for not yet. I'd been on a roll, not just a winning streak, but a lifestyle. I was juggling cards, bets, bookies, lies, jobs, relationships. I had it all in the air, and I thought I was the one doing the juggling. But in reality, I was falling. And then came Vegas. I'd been to Vegas before, but this was the trip. A once-in-a-lifetime craps run, and I mean once in a lifetime. I started small. I was making $22,000 a year, $25 bets. They progressed to 50 because I was winning, then to 100 because I was winning, then 1,000. Now I'm playing with house money, which is really my money. I hit a 15-1 prop bet with a G on the table. Moments later, I hit two 30-1 prop bets inside a half an hour with $2,500 on those bets. The odds of that happening is 1 in 69. Those three bets paid out $165,000. I hit three more prop bets over the next hour. It felt like I couldn't lose. The crowd was forming. People were cheering. I was the guy. I had years, maybe a decade of income at that table. I had accumulated that in just a few short hours. You probably don't know that feeling when you know you should walk away, but you can't. That was me. I knew it was time, but my brain wouldn't let me leave. And then it happened. The bottom dropped out. I watched it all go. During that streak, my buddy left me at that table to get dinner. You see, he was not a compulsive gambler. He barely gambled at all, and I disgusted him. He told me I was sick. And that was the first time in my life anyone had ever said that to me. I didn't see him till sunup the next morning. By the time morning came, I had nothing, not a dime, not a penny available on my credit cards. Greg bought me a frozen yogurt at the airport, and he paid for me to get my car out of the parking garage at O'Hare Airport. Let that sink in. I went from king of the craps table to begging for a frozen yogurt in 15 hours. That plane ride home, I made every promise you could imagine. Never again, never again. I swore it off. On the drive back home, I was punching the steering wheel, punching the dashboard, banging my head. Why? I promised never again. I was done. I was tapped out. I was broke. I walked into my condo, the one I hadn't sold yet. I arrived early in the evening. I found an envelope. I got in my car and I drove to the Aurora riverboat. Lo and behold, I sit down and gambled with none other than Jeremy Roenick. I won thousands of dollars. I was back. So I thought. That night, the dreams began. Cards. I dreamt cards, blackjack hands, poker hands, river cards. I'd close my eyes and I'd see blackjacks. It then progressed. I could then not sleep without consuming cough syrup at night. I had heartburn so bad during the days I was chewing Tums like they were candy. I was wired, fidgety, exhausted. You see, I couldn't stop. I was chasing every dollar I had lost, every promise I broke to myself, every lie I told was to buy me another hour of action. And the scariest part, I was functional, still working, but I was dead inside. And this went on for a long time. And then came the summer of '93, a 3-day bender. Friday night, Saturday, college football. Sunday, the pro games. I bet every game I could. I chased every loss. By the Sunday 3 o'clock kickoffs, I was done. I'm sitting on a living room couch in a house that I was renting a room in, broken. I dropped to my knees and I prayed. For the first time in years, I hadn't prayed for a TD, a turnover, a card, or a win. I prayed for help, for mercy, and it came to me. Call 1-800-GAMBLER. I dialed it. And for the first time in a long time, I told the truth. A soul on the other end of the line urged me, go to a meeting. Sorry, guys. Got in my car, drove from Naperville to Lutheran General Hospital in Niles. I sat in that parking lot for quite a while. Nothing but silence surrounded me. Got out of the car, walked in to the hospital. I'm the youngest guy in the room. Most were middle-aged men, plumbers, insurance professionals, teacher, car salesmen, lawyers, and doctors. How could I belong here? These guys are old. I'm young. Somebody took me into a private room. He had a yellow book, and he asked me 20 questions. I answered solid yes to 14 of them. I was no longer Rich Galgano. I was now Rich G, a compulsive gambler. And that's when the real story begins. Let's take a breath, and I'm going to ask you something. What do you think would have happened if you would have took 1990, 1991, 1992, Rich Galgano, wired for speed, drunk on confidence, compulsive to the core, and handed me an iPhone? No riverboats, no waiting for score updates, no need to call a bookie. Just me, a phone, and the internet. I'll tell you what would have happened. I would have burned it all fucking down by Tuesday. I would have placed 50 bets before kickoff, prop bets, parlays, alternate spreads, first touchdown, total passing yards, coin toss, field goals. I'd be betting if the kicker's shoelace came untied by the third quarter. And every bet would come with a new hit of dopamine, a new rush. But it wouldn't stop there, because when one bet went south, I wouldn't feel the pain. I'd open a new tab. When I lost a $100 parlay, I would chase it with a $250 live bet on the second half, and then a $500 hedge on the late game. I would have watched Red Zone on one screen, checked live odds on another, tracked 6 fantasy leagues, and scrolled TikTok gambling picks on a third. And when I ran out of money, no problem, because they'd give me some. Deposit 100, get 300 in free play. Sounds generous, doesn't it? It's not generosity, it's bait. That's the starter kit to self-destruction. And it's all delivered in a user interface that is programmed to hook you like the finest bait available. Bright colors, fire emojis, confetti when you win. It's designed to make you feel like you're in control when you are nothing but the product. If that world had existed in 1991, I may not be standing here today, because that world probably would have swallowed me whole. And here's the terrifying truth, and it is terrifying. That is the world your sons are growing up in. They don't need a fake ID. They don't need to leave the house. They do not need cash. All they need is a smartphone and a spark. They can fund gambling with Venmo, Zelle, prepaid debit cards. They can use crypto. They can get around parental controls. They can join offshore sites with VPNs and usernames like Baller13. And the action, it never stops. See, back when I placed a bet, I had time to breathe. Place it, wait, live with it. Now, they're placing new bets while the old one is still happening. They're betting live in real time on every snap. It's not one game anymore, it's dozens, and it's happening all at once. And when you're wired like I was, there is no off switch, there's no downtime. You are literally at the craps table 24/7, only now it's a football game. Every play is a dice roll. No pause, no silence. It's constant stimulation. It's mental exhaustion. The illusion of control with the certainty of self-destruction. But because they're doing it on a phone in their bedroom while still pulling A's and showing up to practice, nobody sees it. They look fine, just like I did. But they're not fine. They're burning out in real time. And here's the thing. At this age, they're not built for this. Their brains are not finished wiring yet. They are still developing. And this system that has been built is engineered to exploit just that. It's engineered by companies with data scientists, psychologists, algorithms, marketing teams, and influencers. This is not a felt layer blackjack table on a riverboat casino. This is weaponized gaming with your sons and daughters as the target. I'm not anti-gambling and I'm not anti-gaming. I am pro-awareness, pro-conversation, pro-get your head out of the sand before it's too late. Because if 1991 Rich Galgano had today's tech in his hands, I may not have made it out. And the truth is, your son might not make it either, unless someone talks to him, unless someone watches, unless someone says, I see you, and I'm here. That's what we can do as fathers. You, and only you, can be that someone. You may think quitting is what losers do. That is what I believed. We're taught that from the time we're toddlers. Quitters never prosper. Never give up. Push through. Double down. But when it comes to gambling, when you're compulsive, quitting is the only way to win. Peace didn't come from winning. It came from quitting. I showed up at GA thinking, I don't belong here. I was 24. Everyone else, old. They were old fucks. Married, kids, they got real problems. I looked around that room. I thought, I'm not like these guys. But then I listened. They were exactly like me. Different age, same wiring. They chased like I chased, lied like I lied, hated themselves in the mirror just like I did. I decided to look at the similarities and not the differences. That's when I knew I'm not special, I'm not alone, and I am not hopeless. See, being in those rooms in the early days, for me, was like living the story A Christmas Carol. Because I saw my past, I saw my present, and I saw my future, which is prison, insanity, or death. That's where this thing ends if you do not quit. So I stayed, I listened, I did what they told me to do. I got a sponsor, Wayne B. I worked the steps, I made amends, I told the truth, not just to others, but most importantly to myself. And I learned some important things. If nothing changes, then nothing changes. And the most important thing, everything I thought I'd get from gambling, I got by not gambling, and that came from this gentleman here. What did I think gambling was going to give me? Freedom, excitement, significance, money, women, and escape. I've got none of that. I got the exact opposite. What did I get by not gambling? I got peace, I got connection, I got clarity, I got a future. I got a business. I got a beautiful wife. I got an incredible family. See, I realized I never needed the game. I never needed the action. I never needed to chase anything at all. That's what I got by quitting. And if your sons and daughters ever end up where I was, I want you to know there is a way home. But it doesn't look like what you think it looks like. See, this is not about control. It's not about discipline. It is not about willpower. This is about surrender. It's about connection. And it's about telling the truth even when it hurts. That's how we win. Not by cashing out, not by hitting big, not by beating the spread, not by bailing them out, not by being blind, not by rationalizing, not by trying to be the cool parent who promotes it. We win by quitting, by walking away, by telling the truth, never looking back. That's the win that saved my life. So now that you've heard my story, you might be thinking, okay, Rich, what does this have to do with me? Let me tell you. My story just didn't happen to me. It happened in our home. A few years ago, we discovered one of our kids had quietly been sucked in the matrix. His vice? Buying fantasy NFL packs via his Xbox console. Virtual players, virtual cards, purchased with real money. I missed it at first. Not because I didn't care, but because these platforms are sophisticated. They bury the truth in 1,000 clicks. They make it look like fun, like the 4th of July, Mardi Gras, and New Year's Eve all rolled into one fucking package. This was all new to me. What the hell was this? I asked. I did the research. And this was Disney World and Vegas, targeted for young kids and adults. And it came with no warning signs. Explosions, sound effects, anticipation, buildup, dopamine hit, dopamine hit, dopamine hit. False illusions of grandeur targeted at children. When I realized what this was, I was sickened. It's one thing to target adults. It's another to target kids. When I saw what I saw, I knew exactly what I was looking at. Not just the game, not just the playing field, but what I saw in my child's eyes. Not even 15 yet. I saw the chase I once lived. I saw the lies, the obsession, the hiding, and the fear. My wife was sickened and saddened. Not about the money, about a lie. That is what cut her. That is what killed her inside. And I do not blame her. Me? I wasn't shocked. I'd been that kid. And when the moment came, I did not punish him. I did not shame him, and I did not yell. I sat him down. And before I listened, before I let him talk, I spoke. And I told him, you have no idea how lucky you are that I'm your dad right now. Because I'm probably the only dad at Benet that understands. I know exactly what you're dealing with. And we talked. And I listened to him. And I talked to my wife. And I asked her, you need to let me take the lead on this. You see, this was hard for her to understand. It would be anybody. Why can't he just quit? Why can't he just stop? Why can't he tell the truth? How could he do this? How could he lie to her? Now, as a family, we were in a different position than most because we had someone outside the family we could call. Wayne, my sponsor. He was at our home the very next night. He talked to our son. He reassured him. He counseled my wife, Wendy. And he reminded us what is really important: connection. And here's the truth. If it can happen in my home, a place where I can spot a compulsive gambler from 2 fucking miles away, then it can happen in yours, because you can't spot them. Especially with this new world of gambling. See, I was an old school gambler. This new version, it's stealthier, it's faster, it's invisible. So if any part of this feels familiar, if you suspect you could be us, I want you to know you do not need to be perfect. You don't know how to be perfect. You just need to be present. You need to be the dad your son can come to, not the one he hides from. Because your son may never walk into a casino. But I have news for you. If he plays games, watches sports, or owns an iPhone, he's already in the virtual casino. So what can you do? Talk to him. Ask questions, not to catch him, but to connect with him. Watch for the signs: obsession with stats, odds, fantasy leagues, hiding money, mood swings, defensive about his phone or his game console. Let him know you will always be in his corner, even when he screws up. When my son came clean, I knew that was the turning point. Not because I had all the answers, but because I let him be seen. And when your son feels seen, that's when the healing begins. You don't have to fix everything. You don't have to understand every app or every platform. You just have to be prepared to say, son, if you are ever in trouble, you can come to me. No matter what, we will face it together. Because that's what I needed. That's what I finally found in recovery. And that's what I gave my son when his storm came. This is real. It's growing. And it's coming for every kid, every young man on a college campus. It is coming for them. Because if they suck them in now, they're going to suck them in when they're 25, when they're 30, when they're 35, when they're 40, and they will be that reoccurring revenue stream that they need. Be aware and be willing to have an honest conversation. A conversation that could save his life. Because if he falls, he needs to know he can get back up. And if he gets lost, he needs to know he can come home. And that's it.